I've often heard people say that we struggle in our spiritual life because we ask for too much. But actually, I believe that we struggle in our spiritual life sometimes because we ask for too little. Father Mark Toups here, author of Ascension resources on prayer and Advent and Lent, and I want to welcome you to this Lent. I want to welcome you to Ash Wednesday. Again, some people say that we struggle in our spiritual life because we ask for too little. In this Lent, I want to invite you to have the courage to ask for more. Why is it that we don't ask for everything? I think some of us, it's because we've asked in the past and maybe God hasn't answered our prayer either how we wanted or when we wanted. And maybe what prevents us from asking for everything is just our experience of unmet expectations and the disappointment that's there. Maybe what prevents us from asking for everything is just a disbelief that God's going to come through. And maybe we look at the circumstances of our life and how things are going, and we don't really believe that God's going to come through with everything. And that's an issue of, I think, being afraid to ask for more. And what I've learned in my life is that the antidote for fear is not courage, but trust. And I want to invite us to have the courage and to trust that God can give us more this Lent. I think for me, one of the reasons why I often don't ask for more for everything, especially during Lent, is because I'm so familiar with what Lent has been in the past, right? So many times I move into Ash Wednesday like you and I are today, and I'm going to do this year what I've always done, and I'm going to ask for this year what I've always asked for. And instead of really asking God for everything, I'm going to ask for what's in front of me because I'm just familiar with the rhythm of Lent. And that was the case until several years ago when I had a conversation with a friend of mine and he asked for everything. We had a conversation as Lent was unfolding. He asked me what I was going to do for Lent, and I gave him my customary answer, and I hadn't really thought about anything really. And I asked him, I said, what about you? What are you going to do this year for Lent? And he says, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I can just tell you what I need God to do, because he was really struggling in his marriage. And as we kind of stumbled into this conversation about what would really change his life and transform his life by Easter, he just looked deep inside the mirror, deep inside his heart, and had the courage to admit that he needed God to work some miracles in his marriage. And I watched every day that Lent, his life change. As Lent unfolded, I watched him pray his way into what God was revealing at Mass on Sunday. And I watched him have the courage to look deep inside his heart and to actually put into words some of the questions that had already been there, but he just never had the courage to actually expose to the light of day. And as Lent unfolded and as he got closer to Easter, we found ourselves that year both celebrating the fact that his life was transformed. And my question to you as we begin the journey is, what do you want from God? What would transform your life this Lent? What would change your life on Easter? Because that starts now as we begin to ask the question. You know, for some of us, this new year hasn't really met your expectations perhaps. Maybe last year was tough and this year's tough, and you just need God to be real. And if you need God to be real this Lent, I encourage you to ask for everything today, because God wants to reveal himself to you. But we need to have the courage to tell God that and the courage to ask for what we really need. Some of us are struggling with sin, and please God, if that's where you are, then with great reverence, I encourage you to be honest about what's going on and to know that God is longing for your freedom. When we get to Easter this year, God does not want us to be stuck in sin, whether it's habitual sin or maybe some addictions in our life, maybe things that no one else knows about, or maybe there are patterns in your life that just kind of keep coming back over and over. Like, imagine what your life would be like if you were free. A God who conquered death, which is what we celebrate at Easter, is the same God who on the beginning of Lent is looking at you and is asking you, would you like to be set free from sin? Because if you are, I encourage you to have the courage to name what you're struggling with and have the courage to ask God for more. Some of us are desiring a relationship with God. We want to hear God's voice. We want to feel His presence. We need direction in our life. And maybe what would really transform your life this year would be to have the courage to know what the questions are that are deep inside your heart, and then trust that when you ask those questions to God, that He's really going to come through and respond. I'm excited about Lent. I want to invite you into more this Lent. We're going to walk together, just like we're walking together today. We're going to walk together with you every week during Lent with videos that are going to help you get in touch with not only what God is doing as Lent is unfolding, but to kind of clue you in on what God could do as the journey continues to unfold. We're also prepared to walk with you with a written resource that gives you great daily meditations, prepares you for Mass on Sunday, helps you pray, but in some way gives us the language for our interior life, helps us know what some of those really important questions are, and then sets you up for success as you have the courage to actually now bring those questions to God. It can be an awesome Lent. It can be one that transforms your life, but in some way it starts with us having the trust in God and the courage to ask Him. You've never been here. You've never been in this Lent, and God's never been here in this Lent with you. God is ready to give you everything in His heart. He wants to hold nothing back. And the first step is His desire to give it to you. And your first step is to ask for what you would want. Ask for more. Ask for transformation. Ask that this Lent would be your best ever. Have the courage to ask God for everything, because this Lent, God is prepared to give you everything. God bless you.